All right, welcome back to the Conviction Fiction Podcast where real stories meet real change. I'm your host, Antoine Rivers, and today's episode dives into something we all wrestle with, whether we've been behind bars or just behind life setbacks, and that's mindset. After speaking with Dr. Peter Lindsay and his students at Georgia State University yesterday, I realized how powerful it is when people truly want to understand reentry, not from judgment, but from compassion. So today, we're talking about cultivating resilience. We're going to talk about learning to rebuild your thinking the same way that you rebuild your body after rehab. So, freedom isn't just physical, it's mental, emotional, and pretty much spiritual. So, let's get into the conviction fiction. All right. When I spoke at Georgia State University with Dr. Peter Lindsay and his students, I could see the curiosity in those students' eyes. They were trying to piece together what reentry really means, not just as a concept in a textbook, because they had the books. They were like, the book says this. And I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I know what the book says, but, it has some truth, but hear it from me. And I had MJ out there, another one of the pod movement. Shout out to the pod movement for coordinating everything on yesterday. But we talked about lived experience. I pretty much told them like reentry isn't just the process. It's basically rehab for your life. Because when you come home, everything feels foreign. The rhythm of the world, the noise of freedom, even simple choices like what toothpaste to buy. On the outside, it looks like progress, but inside, it's like walking on a balance beam with your eyes closed. Every step takes focus, patience, and trust in yourself. And that's where your mindset becomes your GPS. That's an interesting concept, right? Your mindset becomes your GPS. See, when people talk about reentry, they focus on the jobs, the housing, the documentation, the paper trail part of starting over. No one hands you a manual for the mental and emotional chaos that comes with it. You're trying to reprogram your brain from survival mode to success mode. And that takes more than a checklist. It takes intention. It's like being fresh out of physical rehab after a car accident. Your muscles work, but they're weak. They remember the trauma. You have to teach them new movements. You have to uh, do things over and over again until strength replaces pain. And reentry is the same way. You have to retrain your mind. And that's where so many people get lost, not because they're bad people or they're lazy, but because they're trying to heal in a world that doesn't always believe in their recovery. That disbelief can creep in like a virus. It makes you question your worth, your place, your potential. And that's why mindset matters so much because it's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about creating a mental space where growth is possible, even when the environment isn't perfect. In that Georgia State classroom, I wanted students to see that when we talk about reentry, we're really talking about humanity. It's not us and them, it's all of us. Because everyone at some point is trying to reenter something, whether it's a relationship, a dream, a second chance, even. So before we get into neuroscience or strategy, let's just start with a simple truth. Your mind is both the prison and the key. Think about that. Your mind is both the prison and the key. So let's go into science a little bit, right? Not just the emotional stuff, because your brain is like a construction site. Every thought, habit, or reaction builds a pathway, what neuroscientists call neuroplasticity. Whatever route you travel most often becomes the highway your brain defaults to. For someone coming home after incarceration, those highways are usually paved with stress, fear, anxiety, and hypervigilance. The brain has been trained to survive, not to thrive. So inside, you're wired to react. You got to stay ready, right? Out here, that same wiring can make peace feel uncomfortable. But here's the good news: the brain can be rewired. That's what resilience really is. Not just toughing it out, but teaching your mind to build detours around old pain. When I told the students this, I saw heads nodding. They were in agreement because they read some of that in their books. But resilience isn't a gift. It can't be read in a textbook and translated over. It's a grind. It's waking up every day and choosing to reframe your narrative, to challenge the lies your past tries to whisper back at you. That's where we have to really think about those negative thoughts, how they sometimes try to take over. Your brain releases stress hormones like cortisol. Too much of that over time clouds judgment and drains energy. That's why people in reentry sometimes feel stuck or exhausted. Even when they're doing all the right things, they still feel stuck or exhausted. Their brains are fighting old battles in new environments. So, just like in rehab, repetition builds strength. Meditation, journaling, gratitude, those aren't buzzwords. Those are neural exercises. Every time you choose gratitude over guilt, you strengthen new wiring. Every time you pause before reacting, you carve a path towards peace. And when those setbacks happen, because they will happen, you don't start from zero, you start from experience. That's the blueprint for resilience. The brain's job is to keep you alive. Your job is to teach it how to let you live. Okay. Now, it's easy to talk about it, but what are some of those practical pathways to fortifying your mindset? I think it's all practical. When you're rebuilding after incarceration, structure is medicine. Without it, your mind wanders back into chaos. Start with something simple like a gratitude journal. Each night, just write three things that went right today, no matter how small they were. I made it through the day. One. I didn't argue back. It's another victory. Um, I filled out that job application. Those moments may feel tiny, but they're proof of motion. They are proof of motion. Um, then you want to add a little bit of mindfulness. When I say mindfulness, I don't mean incense and yoga mats. I mean taking one deep breath before responding. Now, if you want to go incense and yoga mats, by all means, partake in that. But being aware of your own emotions instead of being owned by them is what helps you choose progress over pride. And set some micro goals, man. Too many people fail because they aim to rebuild everything at once. They want that job, the family, the finances, reputation, all at once. Instant gratification. That's a recipe for burnout, fellas and ladies. Start small, one goal at a time. Reentry isn't a sprint, it's interval training for the soul. Now, finally, this is probably what should have been number one. You got to surround yourself with the right people. Rehab only works if you're in an environment that supports your recovery. If everyone around you is still chasing the same destructive um, escapes, um, that will not help you heal. You got to find a network that challenges you, mentors that correct you, and friends who see your potential and not your past. Now, when I talk to the students, I told them this. I said it's not just about who you are; it's about who you're becoming. Because mindset isn't fixed; it evolves with the company you keep and the choices that you alone make. So make those choices count. Okay. And I want to be honest, brutally honest with you guys. Um, you will stumble. Some of you are stumbling right now. I've stumbled, and I probably will stumble later. Everyone does. Reentry is messy. One letter from probation, one late bus to work, one missed paycheck, the car breakdown, and suddenly that survival instinct flares up all over again. You start questioning everything. And that's when the mindset gets tested. Resilience isn't about never falling, it's about how you respond when you do fall. That's what resilience is about. Here's what I've learned: when setbacks come, I need to pause before I panic. I have to remind myself that one mistake doesn't erase the progress that I've made. The problem isn't falling, the problem is staying down. That's the problem. This is where self-compassion comes in. Most of us are harder on ourselves than anyone else could ever be. We carry guilt like a badge, but that guilt without growth is just punishment. Instead of asking why me, start asking something like, what can I learn? Right? That's one of the things I talk about in the book. One of the spiritual paths that I've walked. That's one of the things that this particular religion spoke about. Like, there are going to be setbacks. What can you learn from that setback? So when you get a chance, go check out Turning Forward. Right? It's available on Amazon. And it's a workbook. It's a memoir. It's a workbook. It's everything that you possibly could need for successful reentry. Out of journaling. I'm really giving bad promo for my book because I'm not a marketing. I just do this, right? I just love what I do. Going back, the simple question, kind of that simple question, like what can I learn from a setback, can flip the whole script. It turns a relapse into a lesson plan. It basically reminds your brain that failure is feedback, not a forecast. That's why you need a reentry tool kit. You need that toolkit. Turning Forward. There we go. My blueprint or my toolkit includes prayer, journaling, exercise, and conversations with my circle, and even a podcast. Sometimes people who don't just listen to me, but listen for me. Because when I lose perspective, they can hand it back to me. Your toolkit might look a little bit different. Of course, it's going to have Turning Forward in there, but it should always include something that grounds you, something that pulls you out of reaction and back into reflection. Because second chances, we're talking about second chances, it's like that bounce back. You kind of fell on the ground, fell on your face, experienced prison, blase. You were able to make it out through gratitude and just being humble. You're out, and now the bounce back isn't just about recovery; it's about renewal. Okay, and that's one of the things that I expressed to the kids on yesterday. Like I left that classroom, and I'm just gonna tell you, I felt something powerful. It was called hope. Those students didn't look at reentry as a burden; they saw it as a shared responsibility. They saw it as a chance to understand the human side of justice. And that's the transformation I'm talking about. Reentry isn't just about the formerly incarcerated, it's for the families, the communities, the employers, and educators. Everyone plays a role in the healing. So, for those coming home, please hear me. You are not your past, you are your potential. Every obstacle is an opportunity to rewrite the story. To the students and allies listening, never underestimate the power of empathy in what you're doing. When you understand someone's journey, you create space for change. We all know that resilience isn't a destination, it's basically a daily decision. Some days you feel unstoppable, other days you're barely holding on. But every day you should choose to keep moving forward, and you strengthen that mental muscle. Like I said, like you're just re-entering society, or school, or a new season of life. Remember, the same tools that rebuild a person can rebuild a system. Rehab isn't just recovery, it's rebirth, it's renewal. Um, I'm gonna leave you with this. The story isn't over; it's just being retold with purpose. So, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Conviction Fiction Podcast weekly, daily. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if this episode helps shift your perspective, whether you're navigating reentry, studying it, or supporting someone who is, I hope you walk away knowing this, that your mindset matters. Reentry isn't a finish line, it's a continuation, a daily decision to grow stronger, think clearer, and stay grounded in purpose. Make sure, again, to follow the Conviction Fiction on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And if you haven't yet, go grab that copy of my book, No Turning Back, and the newest entry, Turning Forward. That's the guide built to help justice impacted individuals keep moving beyond fear. Until next time, stay resilient, stay grounded, and remember, you are not your past, you are your progress. See you guys later.